Good morning, my dear friends. This is the fifth last day class for you in MBC 002. By this time, we have covered most of the important portions, and as I told you, the matter I had discussed is spread over various places in your book. The benefit of my presentation is that I have presented all the theories at a stretch, which is spread over various places. So it is not a problem. Once you study this and read the book, everything will come in order. So let me begin. Today I have to cover Piaget's theory. Jean Piaget is a prodigy of knowledge. He himself proved in his life. He contributed his theory. It is followed and accepted by Western countries, European countries, and they try to formulate such an education exclusively for those who come outstanding and those who are voracious to acquire knowledge and come up. Piaget himself said very few people come to that level of learning, but at least by not insisting on the particular grading system also, now there is opportunity everywhere, in particular to European nations. Now if you come across some MOOC under Swayam, this is a portal by all universities. In IGNOU itself is a best example for such learnings. Now Piaget is talking much about concepts. Once concepts are very clear, life itself is okay. The main problem is that we don't understand the concept during our assimilation. So what exactly is cognition? I had many times mentioned in the first class with a picture, with the help of a picture, I have clearly mentioned everything. Now a cylinder and a half circle. So base of that theory, base of this Piaget's theory is the same. How a person assimilates and accommodates many things. That everything will come to know by now. But let me try to explain what a concept is, or how will you understand a concept. To mean a concept, it is a mental frame. How something is fixed in your brain, that is the concept. That is why it's called mental frame. Now, examples. You just imagine that I am asking a question to you and you are trying to answer. And I know from my experience, hardly anybody explained the correct answer. Now, the first two is very simple, red, blue, black. Anybody would say these are colors. Instantaneously, yes. All on a sudden you will be answering red, blue, black, what it is. You will say it is colors. The second one, scooter, car, motorcycle. This also you would say it is vehicles. But when I ask lift, elevator, escalator, you won't answer. You would answer, say some machines, some kind of instruments. But let me clear the answer for this through another example. Say, look, what is PSLV? PSLV means anywhere you go, whether it is in Japan or in the much developed nations, any nations, or Uganda, the least developed nations, the scientists have got only one answer. PSLV means Polar Satellite Launching Vehicle. Even though this is going to space, the scientists have named it as vehicle. But for us, even an aeroplane, aircraft, we find it very difficult to tell it is a vehicle. Now, what's the definition of vehicle? Vehicle is something that transports either men or material from one place to another. Now I think you are very clear to answer Lift, elevator, escalator are also vehicles only. So once the concepts are clear, the whole problem will be solved. Let's see few concepts, social concepts. What I discussed was technical concept. For example, PSLV is a technical concept. Most of these are common social concepts. So this is the importance of psychology. Social concepts vary from place to place. The sublimation, our Freud said, live according to socially desirable manners. So here the marriage, let's see all the social concepts briefly. Marriage in India, marriage in Europe. In India we have lot of conceptualization. That is, once you tie the wedlock, it shall be permanent. In Europe they never think like that. May continue or may not continue. Divorce. Again, divorce is considered something that you don't expect. But they expect, European countries, they expect any time. Employment or retirement. So I would like to just mention about the employment, education, whatever. Education, graduation, everything is there. Even the meaning of graduation, I learned it from a sannyasi when I was 19 years old. I went to a satsanga program. So I was the youngest in the group. He just called me and asked, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just completed my graduation." He asked me, "What is graduation?" I said, "It is a basic requirement to get a job." I didn't know much more than that. Then he told me, in fact, he took a piece of paper and drew a picture, a measuring jar. He drew a picture of measuring jar where the centimeters, the millimeters, everything is marked. He said, these are the graduations. 1 mm, 2 mm, 3 mm, like that. So the meaning of graduation is ability to measure. Ability to measure. So mean, if I am a graduate in psychology means I should have that much knowledge to measure anything under that subject. Post graduation similarly much higher. MPhil, PhD, net is a benchmark of measuring. So actually once the concept is clear, the education means not a certificate. Please try to understand that also. I think you are better now with what is concept. And employment and retirement, and all the retirement we just discussed with that of Erickson's theory. We consider retirement means no need to work after the retirement. It is not like that. Retirement is an age fixed by various governments or institutions. Why should we retire from our profession? If we can upgrade our knowledge, become a versatile person, there is no retirement. Till last breath you can do some job, some kind of work. Then with regard to employment, if you say, many people think that, not able to differentiate between job and career. That also I discussed. And another thing is that I never to discourage my dear students. Many students maybe by second year, after completing second year, will come into the group or personally into my WhatsApp, "Sir, how can I get a job as a lecturer?" That's why cognition you have to consider. Or when the students report, "Oh sir, I am not able to write all the assignments. I will be completing next year. So if I write assignment and submit, I am not writing examination, what will happen?" Then I tell them, IGNOU is an ocean, nobody will compel you. If you want to complete, you complete on time. at any cost. This is because you should understand your position. Suppose the 50-year person is inquiring me, can I, or 35, 40-year person is asking me after this PG, can I get the job of a lecturer? Here you should understand that in India, 135 crore people, many are jobless, especially during this COVID period. You know what is the employment status. So for the question was whether I can become a lecturer. Nothing wrong, you become a private tutor of your own. Those who need the service, you can give it. But you should see that people with 25 years, people at their 25 years, are in the queue with MSc Psychology, who studied right from even degree or even plus 2. And many other additional qualifications like MPhil, NET, PhD, etc. 25, 26 years for employment. With high score, high marks, even the first rank list to become, they desire to become lecturers. At this time, we are trying to tell at the age of 40 or 45, that you try to complete within 3 years or 4 years or even 5 years or even after re-registration when the validity is over. Please try to understand. Any qualification you should consider as a knowledge, as an awareness. Rest everything you have got lot of avenues, but you should be realistic. That is why cognition. Any stimulus comes, assess with the senses, assimilate with the brain, then take a response. Then you will be right. So once you are clear about the concepts, then only you can do any practice. For example, counseling. Counseling means the definition itself to help a person to help himself, never to give an advice. If you start advising, then you are going to be a failure. Maybe technical advice, maybe in the learning disability, this should be done. All this you can say, but if they feel that you are advising, they won't even come to you. Likewise, better we ourselves advise us and come up in the life. So I think you are very clear about the concepts. Now, the Piaget's theory. Like I discussed about many people, many veterans in this field of psychology, the theories. There is every chance they may ask about any particular person after given the choice to you. Now, Jean Piaget, the biography you should know, 1896-1980 was one of the 20th century's most influential researchers in the area of developmental psychology. He was a child prodigy who published his first article in a referred journal at the age of 11. So, what is his stage in his own theory, you will come to know. So, this is what outstanding people. Piaget originally trained in the areas of biology and philosophy and considered himself a genetic epistemologist, mean how knowledge is evolved. What way the people are assimilating knowledge, that was his interest. What is the science behind it? He was mainly interested in the biological influence on how we come to know. Piaget believed that what distinguishes human beings from other animals is our ability to do abstract symbolic reasoning. We will come to know all this in the coming slides, what exactly he meant. He is trying to prove. This implies that human development is qualitative changes in kind rather than quantitative changes in amount that we had discussed in the first class itself. There are two major aspects to his theory: the process of coming to know and the stages we move through as we gradually acquire this ability. How the process, the development process, through development process, knowledge also get changed. Piaget's training as a biologist influenced both aspects of his theory. Process of cognitive development. As a biologist, Piaget was interested in how an organism adapts to its environment. Piaget described this ability as intelligence. Here also I am very slow in taking because it is very difficult to get assimilated his concepts. Behavior is controlled through mental organizations called schemas, or the schema that you may read later. Here recent outline on anything, any belief structure, the conceptualization, how a person has conceptualized it. So changing this, the psychology, counseling, therapy, it is very much important. If a person has conceptualized something like that, his thoughts will go in that way only. So even changing our own concept of belief is very difficult on other religion. If I just tell you two sentences or two statements, see, I am not an atheist, I believe in God, but still I am making two sentence statements here. God created man, man created God. What you would say? Correct. Which is right? If you think cognitively, 100% of the students will get an answer. It is not God created man, man created God. If you take the history from Stone Age onwards, where even the language is not known to the people, the name of the God, how all the stories, what the belief. I am not against God. The belief in God is very good, provided it is within the limits. Beyond a limit, it also will become a psychological disorder. So behavior is controlled through mental organizations called schemes. Here recent outline on anything, any belief structure that the individual uses to represent the world and designate action. It is based on our conceptions. We take decisions. Our thoughts are limited in that. The adaptation is driven by a biological drive to obtain balance between schemes and the environment equilibrium. That means when two schemes are coming, you have got a scheme or an outline, a mental frame, another person has got another thing. So when an equilibrium is brought, there is peace. You can accept that. So it's called equilibrium, he said. So one should try to have equilibrium. Then all this religious issue, any of the family issue, anything can be resolved. The basic problem is with a lack of this adaptation. Piaget hypothesized that infants are born with schemes operating at birth that he called reflexes. See, refer to in utero that we studied. That means infants when born, they also bring lot of such schemes. Piaget in this particular sense said, context, he said it is reflex. But there is a difference. For in other animals, these reflex control behavior throughout life. That's the difference. Animals, what reflex it got? To get fed. So it continued that life, not much thinking is coming. Just some outside learning, not that cognitive assimilation. But for a child, first the reflexes are brought, then what we call the nurturing. Let us see what Piaget says. However, in human beings, as the infant uses these reflexes to adapt to the environment, these reflexes are quickly replaced with constructed schemes. Importance of nurture. So we human beings get changed. So that's why Freud also said, avoid fixation at any time in your life. Be willing to change. Process of cognitive development. Piaget described the two processes used by the individual in this attempt to adapt. This is called assimilation and accommodation. This also we will explain in the next slide. Both of these processes are used throughout life as the person increasingly adapts to the environment in a more complex manner. So, adaptation, what it says we have already said, adapting to the world through assimilation and accommodation. So, you should be clear about what is assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation, the process by which a person takes material into their mind from the environment, which may mean changing the evidence of their senses to make it fit. So, assimilation means the way it is taken to in the brain. So, once again I will read, the process by which a person takes a material, any image, into their mind. Mind means brain, from the environment, which may mean changing the evidence of their senses to make it fit. Like colors, everything we studied. A child born, newborn, how the child understands that is what is which color. All this evidences to the brain. Now, accommodation, the difference made to one's mind or concepts by the process of assimilation. So, through assimilation only the accommodation takes place, or without accommodation, assimilation also will not be complete. Not that assimilation and accommodation go together, you can't have one without the other. So, if I discuss this once again, you will be clear. First is that a material, any image should be taken to the brain and understand through the senses. That's why even touching, those who are blind, by touching they understand, they try to assimilate. Accommodation means the difference made in one's mind or concepts. Two concepts are there. See, accommodation is possible only when a particular differentiation process is taken place. When differentiation process is not there, one person cannot be clear about it. When concepts are better, senses can do well. If you have got a better concept in your brain, these two work mutually beneficial. That's what meant. So, for example, when you take up a study, you should think of various ways how it is going to help me. So, the last concept, with one single example, I wish to clear your doubt here. See, I just mentioned a concept, employment. I didn't discuss much on that. I wanted to discuss it now. Why a person is not rewarded well in Indian condition? Whatever we study, reward or dignity of labor is not that much. What is the reason? This I can explain with the example of another concept available to you. For example, in a remotest village where there is not even transportation facility, only paddy field is there. If you go and inquire the price of that land, you may even get at 10,000 rupees per cent. So for convenience, let us fix it as 1 lakh. And suppose you inquire a center land in a metro city, the heart of the city, Ernakulam. Even for metro rail and that Kochi, God said 1.4 is to be given %. So let us fix it as 1 crore. So in a remotest place for the same space of 486 square foot or so, 1 cent land, in the remote village it costs only 1 lakh, whereas in a city it is 1 crore. You may say the reason as some facility. Technically there is an answer for it. Scarcity and utility. Scarcity and utility are the deciding factors in the price fixation of land. See, take in our example, In the village, it is available in plenty. If you even ask for 1 cent, they won't even give, because their value of the land will go down. So they would say they will give 50 cents or 1 acre even at a lesser price, because they can get done something using that money. In a city, even the space under a staircase, you may have to pay lakhs. So lot of facilities, infrastructure is a city, it is not there. So the technical reason is that scarcity and utility. In village, available in plenty. In city, it is not available. And the utility, usefulness of land, in village it is very less. Maybe only for agriculture purpose it can be used. Whereas in the city, it has got versatile utilities and benefits, and lot of business. Even a space under staircase can be used for a lottery seller, or even a silver jewelry, or a snack bar, or a flower mart, anything they can do. So the utility and scarcity decides the price of the land. Similarly, it is the utility and scarcity that make you reward in an employment. You think about psychology. After, never to discourage you, to understand the fact that after you qualify psychology, what will happen? You qualify psychology, you are proud. Yes, you must be proud. But the thing is that you should understand many lakhs of psychology postgraduates are available in India. If you advertise, tomorrow you can get 10,000 people. I myself taught around 3,000 people. So this is what, in how many colleges it is, how many distance education. Many universities, Kerala itself, Naval University is doing, Madras University is doing, Bharatiyar University is doing. So many thousands are studying in Kerala itself. So what you can do, you cannot decide on scarcity. Scarcity is not in your hands, but the utility is in your hands. How you can be outstanding through knowledge and practice, that is important. Hope you are clear. So the assimilation accommodation will take place only if you really understand, picturize it, and cognitively assess it. Okay. Now, few other concepts of Piaget is classification. The ability to group objects together on the basis of common features. Example, taxonomy, how the animals are vertebrates, single cellular. Likewise, how it is classified. Such a classification knowledge, you at a single instance we should have on anything. So class inclusion, the understanding more advanced than simple classification, that some classes or sets or objects are also subsets of larger class. Example, there is a class of objects called dogs. So dogs is class. You get an image. The assimilation. There is also a class called animals, but all dogs are also animals. So the class of animals includes that of dogs. So conservation, the realization that objects or sets of objects stay the same even when they are changed about to, made to look different. This with a practical example, with a picture, Piaget is explaining. When the shapes change, the quantity doesn't change. So in a particular context, that how, at what age a child will understand. Decentration, the ability to move away from one system of classification to another one as appropriate. Decentration. Imagine issues of reluctance to change. See, in an office, when the government or the management wanted to make a change, due to Corona, a lot of changing, such changes are there, system is getting changed. It's very difficult for us to accommodate. And that is why the assimilation and the accommodation is possible only if you can move from one system to other. Even in the family life also this is a problem. We live with our concepts and mental frames. If this adaptation takes place between one scheme to other scheme, the problem is solved. So this is not alone for cognitive development. This is also for any simple understanding. All the issues, the clashes, even in our group, when Malayalam is taken, people don't understand. Okay, the tutor is telling, we are ready to correct it. We are ready to help the individual. See, you should understand, it is a whole system. You just imagine what would be the case with many of the other centers where literacy is very poor. Only in the regional language they can understand. So all these factors are there. Look, Tamil Nadu. See, even right now I am writing many examinations. The question paper, I can even show you, the question papers are printed in Tamil also. Because in Tamil media, even the postgraduates can write examination in the regional language. And this is all because of our lack of adaptation. We believe that studying English or knowledge in English is something great. Never. Language is only a media to instruct. Take the case of Japanese. I work in a Government of India organization. For the installation of a lot of machines, the technology was utilized by the software, everything from Japan, Yokogawa. So when the technocrats came from Japan, they demanded a bilinguist to translate, must also come. They didn't study English. For them it is not required. Maybe for India it is required. I agree. But knowledge has no relation with any language. Even a scavenger, even a slum dweller, all these people know, a sweeper or a cleaner in European countries, America, Britain and all that, they are speaking in English. Doesn't mean that they have knowledge. So I caught it last day in the class when this came through the communication class at the end of the class. As you look at the Tamil Nadu, there is protocol even to name a film. After spending many crores of rupees, they named it as Yendiran. You know that famous film. In Kerala, we are reluctant. In my clinic also, when children are brought, the parents are proud to say that he can something understand in English. Malayalam, it is more difficult for him to understand. So we learned the language faculty of a child by 4th month and all that the child can listen. So within an hour, I make them read the Malayalam language because it is already learned when the child is in the mother's womb. So there is like suppose we don't, even if we don't spend crores, few lakhs we spend and a short film is made, will we name it as Yandramanushi? We are reluctant because it is the curse of the Keralites there. They believe that the Western European people have got a lot of superiority. Their language, English, is superior than that of Malayalam. It is only a media. Knowledge is more important. It is not a skill in any particular language. Skill in language is good. At many occasions, maybe getting a job and all that. But never think that our language is bad. Malayalam is equally good. Enough and more for to learn and understand and practice. So next comes the egocentrism. The belief that you are the center of the universe and everything revolves around you. This is very, very important. In childhood egocentrism, it is acceptable. For example, you are going to a mall, Lulu Mall also, with a small child of 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. There is every reason for the child to believe that this mall belongs to his father. He can do anything there. But this egocentrism, childhood egocentrism should get evaded by 7 years. That we will study when we study the structure. But you know, the people, egocentrism is there. Many people know, after me it is deluge. After me it is deluge. So I say, many people, they threaten, I have resigned. Nothing will happen to the organization. Organization will get many other people. Same way, when people get to the political positions, higher positions, because since they are running the show, they are under the all the decorum, all the other supports, the administrative support, police, everything. They say that the power they exercise, they feel that the earth of the whole state belongs to them. That is why we have incidents that even ministers, they confiscate the land of backwater and attach to the resort, and even then declare that I will repeatedly do it. Who is going to show me a lesson? I will do it. Likewise, people declare. So all because egocentrism continue beyond the years. Not moral selfishness, just an early stage of psychological development, egocentrism is okay. Children should have that. But at least by 7 years and all that, it should get vanished. Then the social skills will develop. The land, the water, the atmosphere, everything belongs to all. We should not pollute. All this we should have only when the childhood egocentrism, selfishness are get over. Operation. The process of working something in your mind or head. Young children in the sensory motor and pre-operation state that we are going to study have to act and try things out in the real world to work things out, like count on fingers. Older children and adults can do more in their heads than us. Schema or the scheme that we have already discussed, the frame outline I said, the representation in the mind of a set of perceptions, ideas, actions, story, whatever, in whichever way you can formulate a scheme. They have been learned in the childhood. But when you have to, that is why the importance of learning theory. If you are brought up as a atheist, no belief in God, children will not believe in God. Very rarely people get changed. So the stage, a period in the child's development in which he or she is capable of understanding some things but not others. For a child, his perception is like that. So he would always think like this. That's why an adolescent may think, why should I study? In Indian condition, where in Europe, people may not even study, but they get engaged by 14, 15 years. So they come to understand, they even at 40 years, the people go and take up MBBS and all that, because they slowly understand. Now people know that we won't work, we get a job by 30 years and all that. We have got a lot of limitations. That's why culture to culture also, some this understanding will be different. While working in Benner's test lab in Paris, Piaget became interested in how children think. He noticed that young children's answers were qualitatively different from that of older children. This suggested to him that the younger children were not less knowledgeable, but instead answered the questions differently than their older peers, because the children think in different way. To make them understand and evaluate, the parents should also have a quality, society should have a quality, whether it is realistic or not. Something that is realistic should also be always be promoted. At the same time, unrealistic things, when you discourage, you should see that the accommodation and assimilation is taking place in the child. The punishment is not the right answer. So now let's see. This is written in Malayalam. You may find it difficult to read right from the screen. When I am sending this to you, uploading to you, you read it in the computer. You can clearly read it. Niranjana padikukayanu, vegathil paranam. This is based on the Piaget's theory. Only very few people come up in their life like this. It doesn't mean that such a success is a must for the successful living. No. A person who didn't go to school or got only just a matriculation, do you think they cannot have a good life? They can still have a very good family life. As I said in Malayalam, I think I told you, Malayalam it is a saying, the whole psychology is said in this, Namukku name panivadu nakam naragavu madupole. Namukku name panivadu nakam. The heaven is constructed by us. നരകവും അതുപോലെ. Hell is also constructed by us. So if you have got very limited qualifications also, you can have a very good romantic living, successful living, absolutely no problem. Because if you are able to live what Gandhiji said, with the shrubs, with the plants available, you can treat yourself. With the limited the grains that you can cultivate and have, you can have a living. So a simple life, a minimalism. With minimalism also one can be happy. Okay, with all the plenty, are we getting satisfaction? So all these factors are there, but these particular faculties are to be promoted. Why? Because they may bring lot of inventions to the world. That is why in Europe this is promoted. Now in English I have briefed what it is. So Niranjana, the daughter of our 2017 batch student in MAPs, our own PG program, Advocate Renuga. Advocate Renuga is from Trichur. It is with her permission only I am putting it here. So she was telling me, so she sent this data to me for my information only. With my interest only I am putting it here. So her name is Niranjana. Her mother is our student Renuka. To brief, through her own search, this is what is written here. I just summarize it here. To brief, through her own search efforts, found a university in US, and through merit got direct admission to 4-year degree after 9th standard. In 9th standard, she applied herself without the knowledge of the parents. Only when she was called for an online test, parents came to know. She entered into PG at 17 years. Did not even qualify 10th standard. Now she is preparing to, that's all written here, in 2021, she is going elsewhere, moving for a doctoral degree in law. So such people are there. Maybe some people are she is interested in humanities, some people may be very good in physics and all that. Even 10th standard is not required for them to get a higher engineering degree or a medicine degree. They are, by writing entrance they can get it. So why should we wait on this 10 plus 2 plus 3? Whatever is not required to our outstanding people. This is what Piaget also said. We will study his theory now. The same way I discussed the other two theories, Freud and Erikson. I am putting it here and explaining. For this requires further more and more explanation, because Piaget school is still developing with the concepts. Metacognition, metacognition. If a small child can have outstanding skills, let them get developed. It is not, need not be envy on them. That doesn't mean that all these things are required for a happy living. So age, stage and focus. Then here the division is little different. 0 to 2 says sensory motor. Further division, everything I will be showing it. You can, as I said, we have got a lot of limitations. Still I am explaining, not even without wasting even a single minute. So sensory motor, understand through sensory, physical and contact. Here you see a child, further explanation will come. In 0 to 2, a child can accommodate and assimilate many things through senses, or by seeing and touching, all the 5 senses. Brain also works well. So using all these contacts, it makes best example. One of the examples I'll tell you. Now we use vehicle for going everywhere. Rarely we go to bus station. Forget about the COVID period. Even then, we don't ask the child. Even when you go to traveling in a car, you will not ask the children after without AC also you can travel. You ask the child to see many pictures, or when we are waiting at the bus stand, you just ask a 2-year child to observe, pointing to the bathroom places of male and female. The child can slowly understand and tell you that with the pictures, you asked what is the difference, why these two pictures are put there, male and female. Child will say, it's a urinal. You have to explain that. So, urinal. Only males are expected to go with under a picture of male and female under female picture. Such a knowledge using the senses and brain, lot of things the child can do. But we don't allow the children to improve. For example, what we do, we want our children to be scholars. What we will do, we always try to train them under the enclosed space. Maybe that we have some limitations right now. Even otherwise also, even now also we have got such facilities. What Piaget says that get the children outside to get accommodated, get assimilated from the nature. For example, if you buy, I'm not saying that you should not buy building blocks and all that. If you buy building blocks and ask them to play with it and train them, there is a limit to the number of shapes, number of structures that they can make. But when the child is taken out of your four walls and to the nature, children can learn many, many things. So 2 to 7, pre-operational. Development of language and other symbols to guide understanding, the use of prelogical system of reasoning. To accomplish this, you need not have to tax the child. Naturally, the child can. For example, the achievement game 0 to 2, it can be at 6 months, 1 year, 1 quarter, even months difference. But at least by second year, the sensory, everything must be perfectly alright. Otherwise, when you practice, you will come to know how to understand the differences, the minimum, because you have got a viral and a social maturity scale. You will be studying the first year practical. By this time, you would have completed this. Because of this COVID only, we are not able to do it, because we had to physically assemble for this. So you should understand such scales are there. So minimum required performance that also you can learn. So 2 to 7, pre-operational, development of language and other symbols to guide understanding, the use of prelogical system of reasoning. So that means pre-logical system. A child of 7 years, you just compare the previous cases of previous theory that we studied, Freud, the phallic period and all that, or the Erickson's theory, how the children are brought this 3 to 6 period. So all these things, children will have lot of confidence if the positive sides are taken to the benefit of the child. So guide understanding, use of prelogical system of reasoning. So a total reasoning may not be possible, but in any case, that development can take place from 2 to 7. In our case, childhood egocentrism. Okay, egocentrism, okay, everything belongs to me. A child of 3 year, 4 year even may think, if I shut my eyes, since the world is blank to me, it should be blank to others also. So likewise, such thinking is there in small children, pre-logical system of reasoning. Reasoning is not complete. But a child may achieve even at 2 years. But in any case, like in Vinal and social maturity scale, you have to study. At least by 7 years, child should understand that. That is a base for the child to study more. That 6 to 12 period, the same thing, 7 to 11. We said continuity, discontinuity. Not exactly the period, somewhere near to that. So the child can go to concrete operation that we said, say first standard to 6th standard. Standard to 6th standard means the children should get all the basics. So a systematic, see, connect all the 3 theories. I will be sending a single chart mentioning all the 3 theories. I will send a photo of that. Systematic logical manipulation of symbols with a concrete reference. By acquiring this knowledge, that's why a child should understand each and every word, terminology, concepts. Then the child will get what Erickson said. Erickson clearly said, it's a period for achieving mastering culturally socially and culturally relevant skills. In Freud, it is further clear that, what is a latency period. A child is like a sannyasi. Child can be tuned and turned into anything. You connect everything, you can understand. So 11 to 15, formal operation. Abstract, clear thought and hypothetical reasoning. Now you will be studying your statistics and research methodology, where you come to know what is hypothesis. In your project synopsis, there is a head called hypothesis. Please try to understand that hypothesis means an intelligent guess. You guess, you should have some reasoning. It shall not, that guessing shall not go wrong. That is what is meant. Such a faculty can be achieved by 11 years. Maybe by 17, 18 years it should be complete. A 15-year-old, that's why this particular Niranjana, she could think herself and find a way out. By 25 and all that, she will be taking on PhD, everything. So, unlike in India, this kind of cognition is promoted. Itself it is there in many places, but the way of induction and the basic knowledge, again we say the English may be a big barrier for them, because if they are asked to write in regional language, they can absorb. Just because they do not know English and the courses are done in English, they may not be able to understand. That is not in other places. Now our children are taxed. Our children have to learn the regional language, English and Hindi. So it's a burden for them. So their skills, so their own the regional language they can, but in India we cannot, because we have 135 crore people, you have to get employment outside. That way we have to promote English also. These are our limitations. Now I'm just once again just reading it out, because I have already discussed infancy. Infancy age is not exactly infancy. He says the sensory motor period. Piaget says this sensory motor period. Don't take the crude sense of infancy here. 0 to 2. From infancy to 2 years means the child can assimilate and accommodate a lot of things using the sense and brain. That is why sensory motor. Motor means brain. Senses means all the senses. Understanding through sensory physical contact, lacked object performance, that is, lacks the facts that objects and people do not cease to exist when they are out of sight. Until 9 months, will not try to locate a toy when hid. That is what? Until 9 months, when something is hidden, you hide something, the child will not even try to locate it. But after 9 months, the child should think of it. That is the development. So why you have to study all this? Sometimes if you are getting a job in such clinics where assessment is done, you should know all this theory well, then only you can also understand. When a child of 2 years is brought, even the child is not trying to locate something that is hidden, child is not showing any interest, even if you say you reward, that means there is something wrong, that you have a lot of other assessment techniques. So here you see focus to give higher level of cognitive growth, that is 2 to 7. So that it includes 1 to 3, 3 to 6. You know, 1.5 to 3, 3 to 6 period. So all inclusive, he said pre-operational. So operation we have already defined. You look what is operation in the previous slides. Both the slides, everything I will be sending to you, no issue. Age is 2 to 7 means pre-operation, the development of language and other symbols to guide understanding, and egocentric thoughts begins at 2 or even prior to that, must end by 7 at least. Pre-operational children, or if it goes beyond that, there shall be a limit, not exact proportion. At least by 12 years and all that, they should have a very good knowledge about the importance of possessing and why we should not possess beyond a limit. But everything is to be taught and nurtured by parents also. Pre-operational children think that everyone shares their own perspective and knowledge. I told you, If a small child should say I, child may think the whole world is blank to the dark to them. The use of the logical system of reasoning, not aware of principle of conservation, that quantity, volume does not change simply because of the change in shape. See, this may not be that clear to you, so I cannot make change to the photo. The simplest reason, just assume that two jars are kept here, filled with a particular quantity of water, colored water. When it is transferred to a much taller, which has got little more height, the dia is less. When the same quantity is poured in this here, the children, small children who concentrate on the height will say quantity is small here. Why? Because the child is not logical thinking and reasoning. Same way the numbers. See, the equal are the numbers 5, 5. Here also 5, 5, but it is spread. The bottom it is spread. So a child may think that it has got more quantity. A child of 2 year or 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. But now with the advancement of education, there is change. But there are certain children who lack the intelligence. That such developmental issues. In such a case, they will not. Again, the shape, the various tests are there. I am just qualifying one test is not enough. See here, the dove, mav, dove, or any such things, shapes, which can make a shape. See, the same quantity in same shape, in a different shape, when the dia is more, the children may think that this is having more. Or the child who is concentrating on this spherical shape may assume that it is having more quantity. But the same quantity is placed first. Out of that only these two are made. See the difference. Still the child is not able to understand. Maybe a 2-year child may not be able to, certainly. But 2-year child can also do, at least by 7 years. In various methods of testing, child should qualify all that. That means the maturity scale is there. That the testing methods are there. Intelligence tests are there. So it's all the psychologist's duty. Unless we learn very well, you cannot get a good job also. Now, 7 to 11. See, in our case, 6 to 12 we studied mastery of culturally and academically relevant skills. She has got concrete operation. Children can develop an internal mental activity that allows them to revise or alter a simple image to reach the logical conclusion. This mental manipulation can only be with concrete objects and events that lie in front of them. What is placed under them? What is the limitation of a 7-year, 11-year? 7-year also can assimilate and accommodate things in a better way. Piaget says it's called pendulum problem. Pendulum problem means, you know, the old clocks having the pendulum. When a child of 7 years, unless otherwise he is seen and explained by somebody, cannot locate this particular screw at the end of the pendulum and say that it has got a role in controlling the speed of the clock. So, but a 12-year child will definitely say, because it's the beginning of concrete operation. Children can develop an internal mental activity that allows them to revise or alter a symbol or image to reach a logical conclusion. This mental manipulation can only be with the concrete objects and events that lie in front of them. So, capacities of concrete operation: animism, centration, all this I have explained to you. You read it now. This reasoning, egocentrism, reversibility, classification, everything I have already explained. You just see and seriation, conservation. So all this you read again and again, because I need to finish 2 more theories. So the formal operation, abstract thought, 11 to 18 is that many books says little differences. But it is not, our purpose is not the exact compartmentalization. So the pendulum problem I have discussed. While formal operations, all this hypothesis, the child should be able to do. Abstract thought, logical, hypothetical reasoning, example, solution of pendulum problem. Even a 7-year child or 8-year child can do it. But in any case, by 11, 12, the child must be able to. Concrete operations versus formal operations. Many never reach this stage even in development. I cannot achieve all this. So this again, you read it. I may not get time if I continue explaining like this. In detail, any development theory you can modulate using the same skills, improving with adjectives and adverbs. You can. So you know the base of it. Still, let me read it out and point to only very important postulations made by him. Let me see. So Levinson's stages of adult life. Levinson's sample. Levinson interviewed 40 men in 4 occupational groups: novelists, biologists, business executives and factory workers between the ages of 35 and 45. 5% were black. All had been married at least once. See the European culture. So Levinson viewed life as a series of periods formed around developmental tasks, the main goals, objectives and concerns faced by individuals during each life period. The same thing only we have been discussing throughout in all the other 3 periods. A period ends when its task lose significance and new tasks emerge, example exam. This is actually a concept, maybe he is not aware of it, the concept from Gestalt psychology. That is, when one task is there, when that task is over, energy get diverted to the other task. Same way, after you complete your examination and you got a very good result, will you go and write that examination again? No. So developmental transitions, existing life structure, transition period, period of personal crisis and re-evaluation, life structure questioned, new decisions made, review and evaluate the past, accept losses at the end of a period. That is, accept losses at the end of a period. Same cognition. Instead of using defensive mechanism, you accept it. Explore new options, decide what to keep and what to discard. Consider possibilities for the future. New life structure, structure building period, relative tranquility, structure based on new decisions. See, in fact, this itself conveys what exactly is meant by Levinson's stages of development. This is, if one is doing like this, one will be successful. But we don't evaluate and we don't accept failures. We try to justify every time. And in search psychology, as you study it, you will try to ridicule the environment. When everything was successful, you say the person condition, I was good enough. That is why I could be successful. Whenever there is a failure, you use a defensive mechanism, or we all of us, we use a defensive mechanism saying that cursing, blaming the environment. So this is a defense mechanism of displacement that we have discussed in the theory of Freud. Okay. Move from pre-adulthood to adulthood. Graduation from school, move out of family home, go to work, independence from family, financial and emotional autonomy, college and military are transitional institutions, away from family but not total independence. This is all because in many countries working in military is mandatory. So consider in this way why this particular word military has come. Don't have to brainstorm unnecessarily. What it conveys is a part of development. Make choices about how adult life will be lived. Men have a dream, a vision of the future, usually viewed in terms of career. That we discussed the difference between career and job. Men have a mentor, an older 8-15 years role model, someone with experience and seniority in the world the young adult wishes to enter. Second important relationship, a woman who supports dream, makes man feel capable of obtaining it. So he is differentiating between how dreams are dealt by man and woman, the differences of this. It's all based on his observations. Need not have to criticize him and the individual differences. Some female doesn't want the support. So all up to you to further nurture on those particular concepts and apply for the success of the life of you and of your clients. No need of criticizing, in fact. Entering the adult world, 22 to 28. Explore and make commitments to adult roles. Establish a lifestyle. Work leads to career choice. Yes, work leads to career choice. That's why job by age of 14, 15, 16 in European countries, they come to know which job is comfortable for them, so they can make a choice. But now in our case, we start going by 25, getting a job by 30. By that time we want to settle, so we have no choice to go for further learning and all. These are all experiences that we have to bring into our culture, education, career, job. But unfortunately, with all this abundance of population, labor resource, it is not rewarding. That is why we cannot send our children for job. Yet we can think of all these various job opportunities through a career guidance. So the career guidance is also an area of psychologists. But unless the psychologists themselves immerse into career knowledge, they can't guide. So age 30 transition, 28 to 33, reappraisal of early adult commitments and change. Focus on adjustments and enrichments. If I am to change my life, I would better do it now. Sometimes crisis, divorce, occupational change common. But these are all again depending on the Western countries. In our case, most of the when we get an occupation, rarely people get changed. Even if it's a good private company, we continue because getting another job is very difficult. Settling down, 33 to 40, culminating a life structure for early adulthood, apprenticeship over. That's right. All this time we have been struggling. They may have one child, especially in European countries, they will have only one child and others. That particular struggle is over. Time to be successful, competent adult. Boom period, becoming one's own man, independence from mentor. Because they got all the experiences family. Otherwise also dating and all that they begin by teenage. That is why. But we begin the life after 33. That is the problem. So they by 33 they get lot of experience, have a family and decide whether they continue or to divorce, or even if one child, okay, stop with it. Like that they think, but our culture we have to bring appropriately. It is not to, never to highlight our culture is good or their culture is good. The purpose is a successful living. Deeply absorbed in commitments to occupation, family and activities. There is commitment to occupation. Because in European countries they are well paid, at the same time they have to be committed to the job also. But we do, whether in private company, we are forced to do. The dignity of labor is not there. When government job is getting, what people are behaving, how people are behaving, all these things. And I do not wish to comment here, but you better try to assimilate things. Decide to get ahead, realize useful ambitions. So middle life transition, 40 to 45, midlife crisis. What have I done with my life? See, the life evaluation that we studied after 65. He is telling, must try to this. Not only that, Levinson states each stage, why can't we do an evaluation? That is also a good idea, a good concept, that we can adopt all good from all theories and work with our clients, work with ourselves and make a change and prove it. Come to terms with the dreams of one's youth, work on discrepancy between what is and what will be. Life takes on a new sense of urgency. 80% of Levinson's subjects went through personal crisis and re-evaluation. That's why re-evaluation should be done in every stage. That's why we said 18 to 45 we did in Erickson's theory. Sometimes it is written 18 to 35 also. A lot of the schools further make researches. That is the reason behind it. But in any case, Evaluation at every stage is a vital thing, but whether we have the sense to do it, that is the problem. Whether we did it, our new generations are doing, or who are getting this benefit of these theories, all are important. Maybe that with a view, if you study this, you can reevaluate, you can help others, the clients. Even those who are in social service and all that can do it globally also. Crisis may include divorce, extramarital affair, occupations. These are all common that you face in India also. Levinson stopped gathering data on his subjects at the age of 45. Then after that he made some observations. Entering middle adulthood 45, 50, living out the previously made changes, for many the most satisfying, enriching time of life, because by that time they settled, all the vices get vanished. Why? Because provided they really enjoyed the life, but still people are there who count to make 99 rupees 100. Likewise, if that is with jealousy, hatredness when you leave, so then you cannot do all this enriched. So Erickson also says after age 45 you can create and care for the others, So and after when re-evaluation is done finally, actually Erickson also would not have thought of doing the evaluation only after 65. Actually every stage should be successful means it's an evaluation itself. So take only positives. Why find that faults in any theories? So age 50 transition, 50 to 55 time of moderate crisis, men review where they have come from and make plans for where they are heading. Culmination of middle adulthood 55 to 60, finished framework of life structure for middle adulthood, a period of great fulfillment. A late adult transition 60 to 65, ending middle age and preparing for late adulthood. Application of Levinson's theory to women. Mentor, women substantially less likely to have a mentor. Love relationship, men seek women to support their dreams. Women seek a special man but see themselves as supporting his dreams. The dream, men find themselves by separating from family of origin and pursuing own interests. Women develop identities through responsibilities and attachments of relationships. Men dream of occupational achievements, status, accomplishment. Women less clear of dreams, more tentative, mix of family and career interest. Again, you can mix all your learning when you evaluate. Some people had dreams, whether man or women. What happens is that Freudian unconscious. That means the dreams are also getting deposited. It's not coming out because of other stresses and more weightages are given to other issues. So you will feel, okay, I had a thought but I didn't complete it. Because that's why. So even when you study this, you will understand a lot of stresses are coming. I'm not saying blaming my students. Maybe you have got a lot of issues to complete the assignments, write examination. But once some task is over, the trouble is over, or find at least 1 hour to complete this your task, slowly you will be able to achieve. You will not abandon your studies. So always you take into consideration the knowledge that you got from various classes and try to accomplish life. Unless otherwise you accomplish yourself, you complete your degree PG after 4 years, then how can you guide your clients or students? That is why when you are interviewed for a job in a school, you yourself failed many times. You completed, you entered into 2020, completed 2025, which otherwise would have been completed by 22 or 23, 2023. So the interviewer will also evaluate this incumbent. Herself or himself is like that. How can we appoint to guide a student as a student counselor? All this the interviewer will evaluate. So take it seriously your studies and try to accomplish on time. So Levinson interviewed 45 women aged 35-45 years, including 15 homemakers, 15 female executives in major corporate financial organizations, and 15 female faculty members. Women, similar to men, go through age-linked developmental stages, often moving from one stage to the next through painful and turbulent periods of transition. The homemakers dreamed in youth of traditional family-centered life, but midlife, all but one working outside the home. Half were legally divorced, most of the rest psychologically divorced. These are conditions of the Europe. Maybe in our case 50% divorce may not be there, it is not here, but the psychologically divorced is there. They had a lot of romance, romantic things like I told you, the traditional lamp that you hold when it was glittering, the honeymoon period. After that, everything is lost. That is why psychologically divorced. So you have to see that every day we clean, make a lot of adjustments, deliberate adjustments to bring out a very good life. Otherwise, what our children sees is that there's a clash between husband and wife or father and mother. Why should I get married? So they enter into a life with all such unconscious deposits. Motherhood was a less central component for their life structure, increased independence and desire to exist on more equal terms with men. Levinson concluded that a traditional marriage is no longer viable in our culture. It is depending on their culture. They are telling in India still people would agree that our traditional culture is much better. Of course, I agree that the patriarchal society that we have, but all these are getting changed positively. But how to live according to our traditional culture at the same time understanding the endocrine system of male and female mutually. That's why premarital counseling should include all these things. You can modulate based on your studies and bring a new career. That is what. There are many areas that nobody invented so far or nobody discovered so far. So you can think the career women. The career women dreamed in youth of modeling the traditional homemaker pattern at midlife. Intense struggle between the traditional homemaker figure and the internal anti-traditional figure. Because when they, especially in the joint family and all that in India too, when they try to reevaluate, they will think that the jobless were always had a lot of domestic work of all the joint family. And by end of their life, they are nothing. They don't have even a pension, nobody to support. So everybody has to take care of. In that way, the Erickson's theory seems to be far better. Every stage we should achieve. So evaluation, whether though he is not specifically telling, it is understood that we have to evaluate at every stage. Maybe small children cannot do it, but by the age of 18, 12 to 18, we must be able to do it. Attempting to be everything to everyone, seeking to have everything, plagued by exhaustion, worries about their children, and exasperation with their spouses who fail to do their fair share of household responsibilities and child care. So, based on this, though I couldn't explain every term extensively like what I did for Freud, Erickson, and Piaget, because of the time limitations, you please try to understand that. So death and dying is another development across lifespan. Why I put this exclamation specifically is that when it's the last class of us, when death and dying comes, you might think, oh, sad. Why it is a sad event? It cannot be, it should not be like that. Of course, when death is coming to a small child, teenager, there are concerns. That also is covered in the school later. But our purpose is to try to accept a death when it really comes to, and how a person can do the counseling in this area. Because we don't want death, that's not right. And also you should think about those who end up their life through suicide and all that. Everything must be a concern. So death and dying, death and living also is a factor that you have to consider in relation to developmental period. So Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of death. This we face, especially when I am associated with an institution called Institute of Medical Sciences. I got chances to interact with the terminally ill people because it is declared that they would die the next day or within 3 months or 6 months, depending on the stages, first, second, third, fourth stage. So first, see a person, even a diabetic, who is having stress at that time. So he try to deny, let my blood be tested on another day, on in another lab. Likewise, when the cancer is such terminally ill thing or renal issues, kidney issues, when such things are coming, terminally ill, it will lead to terminally ill, not the diabetes, but diabetes is also very serious. It will lead to some other problems. It is a vicious circle. It affects many other organs. So when the doctor explains all this, then I try to deny, no, I didn't have any problem, none of my family members had it, how can I have it? All this they will say. But the thing is that whenever there is a serious illness comes or life-threatening issues comes, people used to deny. So denial is resisting the whole idea of death. No, I am not the man, or she is not. No, not my wife, not my child. But you see, everybody try to deny because maybe it is a mistake by the lab or the diagnosing doctor. So they run after lab to lab, or sometimes they straight away get into depression also. But that's the criticism for this theory. So forget about the criticism. Kubler-Ross made this based on the observations only. So denial is resisting the whole idea of death. I'm not going to die. So denial is a form of defense mechanism to allow one to absorb difficult information at one's own pace. Whatever the speed I have, I try to adjust. I don't want to die. Say a person, he is detected at 70 years, 75 years and actually really reevaluated the life, 45 to 65, lived happily. Then he may try to accept it easily. For a younger person, it is difficult. So based on the observations, so try to accept the theory and have your own criticism. Not your criticism shall be towards the observation loopholes or the shortcomings. He has contributed a very good theory, in fact. Anger. The next stage will be, first the denial, next stage will be anger. Why me, her? Why not you? Why should my family, what the God has done? My family he is targeted. Why they are not? When compared to other people, we didn't do anything. We are ideal because we always try to justify. So in this stage, people may be very difficult to be around. People will not give face to see others also. Curse God, having got everything. So you try to curse, you don't want to see anybody because you are going to die. That is why. So bargaining. That's what. When anger is there or denial is there, it is very difficult for a psychologist to enter into. So bargaining, at this stage, individuals are trying to negotiate their way out of the death. So this time even an atheist, no belief in God, may also beg before God, or a doctor who believed in science alone. I am not saying that a traditional Ayurveda or the traditional Siddha is not scientific, but till that time they have been blaming. But even he may go to a party at the tribal area to find some solution because he wished the life to be extended. At this time, psychologists also can enter. Typically, people try to make deals with God. Sometimes the bargain creates an event or date until which the person can hold on to, such as a grandchild's wedding or the 10th birthday. So that's what. 10th birthday and the longevity in Europe is much more. But when it's a teenage or 45 period, middle life, it is very difficult to understand. So the bargaining period may go long, even for months, depending on the age period. And the philosophical traits a person has. He will study the importance of traits and all that in theories of personality. So such a person, philosophical, okay, I am ready to die, but it has to come one day, I am willing, likewise. So depression. The individual at this stage is overwhelmed by a deep sense of loss, especially in the case of terminally ill, because now he has to start accepting, because he searched with many labs, then to many people, saw many the tragedy of many people who suffered from this. Then depression means he will only pray for a peaceful mind. So, reactive depression is a type of depression based on what has already occurred, such as loss of dignity, health, etc. Preparatory depression is the anticipation of future losses, such as the loss of a relationship. Acceptance. People are fully aware that death is impending. In this stage, individuals near death make peace with death and may want to be left alone. Persons in this stage are often unemotional and uncommunicative. Don't be sad, it's a part of my tutoring only. I did this theory also. We have to accept it. Be happy only, be cheerful, don't get depressed on learning this theory also. So these are the 5 stages you have to by heart. Now the similarly criticism, you read and decide, but should be appreciated. Kubler-Ross should be appreciated. The appreciation is given here. However, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross is still influential and is credited with being the first person to bring the phenomenon of death into public awareness. Even death education is also a part of curriculum in many universities, in many syllabuses. So, based on this, how can you make good out of every theory? I could get a client. By reading this, you will understand. A true case brought to me. A sincere, proud and hard-working, a true case happened in my life. One client was brought to me by my friend. A sincere, proud and hardworking. A sincere, proud and hardworking, while working with a concrete mixture, lost his left hand. There was a group insurance in the organization, but to sign and submit in 24 hours of accident, the worker was reluctant, said that nothing happened to me. Denial, because he was very proud. Still, I will work with one hand, nothing, or this not is a loss for me. So not only death, any tragedy is can apply this to Kubler-Ross's theory. So using this theory, I could counsel and get him convinced to sign on insurance application on the next week. So that is what you can say. Theories have been given by many people. Even a concept, a simple concept of Swami Vivekananda or any Mother Teresa, whoever, that can be brought to the counseling. That's called the biblical counseling. So you can do by second year, you will learn lot of therapies and all that. You can very well accomplish your career. So I just want to finish my today's class. I will continue even unofficially classes. I will post videos to you, don't worry about it. But this is another theory that you have to study in MPC 3. Why I wanted to complete this theory and relate to your academics is that this can be applied globally in the business anywhere. But my purpose is different. Today onwards, you should follow this theory to accomplish your studies. How it is academics, how it is possible. You can accomplish with anything, any theory. But how can we accomplish with this theory for your studies? But at the end of this theory, you please listen carefully. You will find that you are trapped. Now onwards, you will not find any fault in anybody with regard to providing of resources for your studies, because how you can do it, it's being done here. You can excel in your studies with a full mark. This, if you follow this. So this can be applied in a student, in a learning disability child, or anybody who wanted to accomplish the life task. Let us see. The best reinforcer to those who are inactive, both negative and positive. Let's see what it is. What Skinner did, the Skinner box. When a hungry pigeon is put in a box, having devices to attract it to some lever, and when touched, the lever delivers some food. The pigeon repeats the action of presenting it whenever it is hungry. There is an overlapping. It is written as a repeats the action of pressing it whenever it is hungry. That is, positive actions are promoted. So let me explain this. I already said in one of the classes, Sukha Anushayi Raga, Dukha Anushayi Dvesha. Here the thing is that the experiment he did was, he didn't feed an animal or a pet for some time. So that means that pet will be very hungry. That pet is put inside a box. That's why it's called skin. There is a skinner's box. So you can find a light here. There's a hole and there's another vent. What he did is that all this type of animals will always try to peck every time. So it suddenly will peck anywhere. So to attract the pet, a light is given. So it will definitely peck here at K. When it is pecked through an instrument or a device, the best grains are delivered. So what will do? It will eat. So hungry and thirsty. So it will eat. So whenever it is hungry, what it will do? It will continue to peck here. It will get. Okay. What happens when the stimulus is changed? On the other hand, instead of food delivered, if the pigeon is given pain while pecking, since the pecking behavior needs to be stopped, it won't repeat its action of pecking again. It won't repeat the action of pecking again. Negative actions are punished. Dukkha Anishayi Dvesha. The picture is the same, but the wording is different. Here, instead of delivering food, a needle would come from here and it will prick the brain, especially the brain neurons. It will have that much pain. So even if it may try once again it will get the pain. So it will stop doing it. That's why to stop some action, we do punishment. But how it should be done, everything, we will see the next screen. So similarly, this is done with a rat. With many animals he also did. But the only thing is that Skinner is appreciated internationally, but our yoga clearly stated Sukha Anushayi Raga, Dukha Anushayi Dvesha. Sukha Anushayi, if you are getting comfort, you will continue to do that. You will have affection to that person, you will continue to do that. So Dukha Anushayi Dvesha means if you are given pain, you will break the relation, you will stop it. So this is there said in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, that is the Bharata psychology. When I am telling Bharata, it is never religion and all that. In 6,000 years back and all that, we never had any such any such religion. What we had is only Sanatana Dharma. If it has been traded by politicians, it is their self-interest. It is much above, the Tattva concept is much above the religion. So let us see reinforcement positive, reinforcement negative. Positive reinforcement is any stimulus that brings about an increase in the preceding response. That is, giving salary, appreciation, rewards are likely to increase the subject's effort. There is some, because when I converted this to bigger font for catching the camera's eye, few words are lost, but I am telling this. Reinforcement negative. Similarly, negative reinforcer is any stimulus that is intended to remove proceeding with an action in future. We take medicine to remove a pain. Same is the principle behind extending punishment. And so another thing is that suppose you had a headache. You had a headache, but the medicine doctor gave some leftover medicine is there. When the same pain comes, you go and take that medicine. So some reinforcement can be considered negative and positive depending on the situation, how the stimulus is considered. But the purpose of punishment is for improvement. But you know what happens with the punishment? People get more negative stimuluses and behavior become worse from bad. So all these things for you to practice appropriately, and I am going to tell you a case study in relation to this. That's why even 10 minutes is more than enough if you really study a theory and apply it scientifically, appropriately to the situation. So whether the partial reinforcement or continuous reinforcement is good. So in partial reinforcement, reinforcement is intermittent. Experiments show that partial is more effective. It is true that with animals, continuous reinforcement found to be ineffective and effective depending on the nature of the animal, the aggressiveness and all that. But the thing is that I'm trying to tell you one simple example. Another example, what I did in my clinic, that also I will explain. See, the thing is that a fisherman is trying to get a good catch from early morning till noon. He was trying, but he didn't get a good catch. So what usually he will do? He will throw away if he is getting only one or two fish. He is fed up with this. He will decide to have a good catch. But by 12 noon, under the hot sun, he wanted to go home. But anyhow, he just made a trial, one more trial. At that time, he got the net full catch, abundant catch. So that's why at that time the chakaraki, many people would have thought a chakara is something that is fishes are coming in large group. So that is chakara. Actually, though that is the effect, this mud is cheli. Cheli karakki adukkunnathaanu chakara. Because a lot of algae will be there in this. Fishes wanted to eat that. That is the fishes coming in group. That is exactly the chakra. So I am just going to explain 4 stories. I think you are interested to learn stories. Always, everyone. So it should be read like this: fixed ratio, fixed interval, variable ratio, variable interval. So with the 4 instances, if not the stories, for example, the Indian Railways. Indian Railways may need, if you enter into railway compartments, you will come to know that small fixtures are there in every compartment. In one compartment alone, it may need hundreds of screws or nuts and bolts. Here, a railway is divided into 4 or 6 zones and all that, because for the administrative convenience. So, suppose railway wanted to have this type of nuts and bolts either for replacement, repair and for building new coaches. So they may need in thousands and thousands. Here, fixed ratio is an example I am going to tell. Suppose railway want 1 lakh such screws in 6 months. It would even supply the material to ensure the quality of the material should be rust free and everything. Steel content, carbon content should be less, like that. So fixed ratio means what the railway will do is that railway will entrust one contractor or 2 or 3 contractors and ask them to supply minimum 10,000 units in 3 months. So here fixed ratio means a intelligent contractor, what he will do, and suppose there is a clause that all 1 lakh can be supplied in a month. Suppose such contractor for some particular fixtures, what he will do, he may hire some Bengalis. I am not ridiculing anybody, because where cost is less, they will bring people. We have to be paid more. So he may get such people, and he may hire a workshop, bring new machines. Throughout night also he may engage workers. And what will happen is that he will accomplish even within 1 month, and he will get immediate money. So this is the best example, fixed ratio, that is the piece rate. Now fixed interval. Fixed interval means that all this I am going to apply in your academics, in your current studies. That is why you are trapped now. So fixed interval means just like monthly salary. If I got sufficient leave, even if you don't go for 6 months, you will get salary. So fixed interval, how can you apply this to your studies? Now variable ratio. Variable ratio means a ratio. Say here a visit by a representative. One of my organizations was Cipla Pharmaceuticals prior to my joining, in fact. So the variable ratio means, see, the representatives used to do a thing that they would buy very precious toys, etc., and deliver 1 unit. 1 unit may not be sufficient, or it might break. The child will demand the same thing. At that time, definitely the doctors would call the representative. Then he will immediately deliver it. So that way, whatever, I am just telling an example. They may invite for a dinner, they may invite for their function, contribute compliments. These are all part of business. That you know, no, when you are sleeping, by 2 o'clock on Saturday or Sunday, or a holiday, one representative with a bag full of samples may come. He wanted to sell tea bags. What will happen, the tea bags he wanted to supply, big packets. On seeing them itself, the household will say, no, I don't want anything. Then what he will do? He will supply a small sample packet. And we are happy when we are getting sample packet without any price. So next week he will come and inquire, madam, this time also I didn't come for sales. I have sale units also. It can be given on discount. I just wanted to inquire how was it, how it tasted, the tea bag or the coffee bag. At this time, you cannot shut the doors against him, because you already enjoyed the benefit of a free sample. That's why stepping into the door. These are the concepts applied, because these theories are made use of the attendance bonus, punching benefits. So all these things are done from psychology. The organizational psychology, one of your specializations, MBA, and also this course is there. So we are making use of this theory anywhere. In studies also we can do. And another thing is variable interval. This is the story I really wanted to do. You please try, because everybody in the teenage and the love affair wishes, they're expecting the call of the opposite sex and all that. Based on that, I am telling a story that suppose a man and a girl, a boy and girl are in deep love, but the parents didn't know about this. They wanted to declare once both are settled in the job and all that. So the boy is calling the girl. She is living in a palatial building, rich enough. So he is calling and telling, my duty is tomorrow, my duty is at a high range. There will not be any range for the phone range. So I will be calling you tomorrow by 3 p.m. The girl rarely used to come to the visitor's room and all that. She is always at the first floor or so. But this time he has given instruction, come to the land phone by 3 p.m. So she has decided to go there by 3 p.m. But at that time, by 2:30 to 45, many visitors are coming and sitting around this room, the visitor's room. So what he will do? Yes, you can tell from your experience, that's what I meant. Since you are not sitting in front of me, I am sure what you people will do. So what you will do? You will go in advance and sit there and pick every phone from 2:45 itself till you get that call, because you don't want that to be disclosed to the parents right now. So that's why variable interval. Anytime what you feel, suppose you have got all facilities, your examination is nearing, you want to take the book to the toilet and study, it's up to you. So what I am trying to tell is that that extreme should be your energy. You should not allow the energy to fall. No, based on this, you can have a schedule. That is why it's all schedules. So this is the same thing is explained here. So what I am asking you, you take a diary. The benefit of diary is that though it is September, you take a new diary itself. That date is there on every diary, every day, date will be there. So you write like this, 3 columns or 4 columns. So you put date is always there, serial number, MPC 1 to 6, your topic, whatever be your topic. Before bed, suppose you studied well, how you know word meaning. I've done everything. That's why I'm telling you, you are trapped now. I taught you what is memory, though it is not to be taught by me. I taught a lot of reinforcements, lot of easy methods, or reading, graphing, phoneme techniques, everything I taught you. Whether the person is having learning problem or not, it will only help you improve your knowledge. So that way, before bed, you take a decision, MBC 1, because there is nobody to monitor you, or you can entrust such a monitoring to your house members, domestic people. And what you can do is that you take a decision that you will be completing this many pages of MBC 1 today, 2 today, 6 today. And not reading. Reading is Q3, reading the method. Read, answer, ask question. So while reading, ask question technique. SQ3R I taught you. Word meaning, the importance of word meaning, how to memorize, encoding, storing, retrieving, everything I explained. Though it is a part of other topics, other papers. Purposely only I began that. Now I am ending my class with all this. So you take it. Sometimes maybe MBC 6 little difficult for many. So you could not do that. Collect and you are sleepy. So you take a decision. Okay, I will do it later. Not later. Next day morning. Before you accomplish any other task, you should complete that or seek the help of somebody and put an effort towards and try to understand, assimilate and do it. Then tick. So every day you must do in the day. So everything I mentioned, SQ3R method, word meaning, conceptualization and rehearse. You have to do it every week. So Saturday, Sunday, holiday, HTV's holiday, Saturday, Sunday, holiday. 6x means 6 into x. On the topics you should revise also. If you study it like this with a meaningfully assimilating the concepts, that means you are sure that you can do the revision. So just reading without understanding, it will be same on the 6th day also. So do the rehearsal. If you do it like this, let the university declare examination any day in January or whatever, you can write. So you have no room, you are trapped, you have to study. You do not have to curse anybody, examination may come any moment. So study hard for your final exam. Thank you all for the cooperation. You got a great opportunity to study this subject in Kochi Center especially. Proudly I am announcing Kochi Center is having the heaviest traffic to get joined in the psychology. Some people would say when there is some negative incidents, it's all because of the stimulus, how the stimulus you took into your senses, assimilated the brain and transported. Do it carefully. You know, I'm telling you, I am still a student. I'm doing my 15th post-graduation. Every 2 years I used to register. Why I am telling is that, please try to understand, for an academician, for a psychologist, knowledge, you should continue to acquire knowledge. Then only you can be a good counselor. Good day. Thank you all once again.